We have like 5 subtopics. Alright, without wasting any more time, you know what it is, what time it is, whatever it is, baby. Welcome to Inhale Soma. And today, before I tell you what we're gonna be covering, I wanna apologize because, alright, like we're on the fourth episode, right? But then the fourth episode was supposed to be the one where we have a guest, our first guest. So we did shoot, but then due to technical problems and all them, so till today, that's why we are unable to deliver the episode. So right, but then I'm not gonna keep you in the loop. We keep going, right? So yeah, just like today, what are we gonna be covering? Today's topic: animation. Yeah, like why not? And we just lost one of the greatest animator, filmmaker, designer, like what else? I don't know what to call him, man. He's just so great. Akira Toriyama, rest in peace. Yeah, he really brought us a lot of work. We got inspired. So yeah, you wonder why I be talking about animation today. You know I'm into a lot of stuff, right? Not just music, design, but also film. Not just cinematography, I mean still film and motion film, but also, yes, motion film as well, which is include animation. Yeah, with my own understanding, what is animation? Animation. All right. For me, animation, it's manipulation of designs, cartoons, graphics. It could be any formats. Yes, you manipulating them into action. Yeah. As long as there's a motion, as long as there's a movement, we can make animation using pictures only, using vector designs, graphics. Yeah, man. Cause like I remember first time I got introduced to animation, it was back in primary, but I'm still gonna tell you about that. First, I just wanna tell you like about the professional animations that inspired me, because of course, before we mention a lot of things about anime, there are people who started this. Just like how I just mentioned Akira Toriyama, rest in peace. Yeah, but I'm not really going to talk about people. I'm just gonna talk about their work that inspired me a lot. Okay, for an example, my first years watching anime, I wasn't really into anime that much. I was, but me saying I wasn't into is that I didn't really get a chance to watch, you know, those kind of anime, like animation films whereby you know, everyone knows about the popular ones. You know, when you know the popular ones, you know, when you're chilling with your friends, you get to talk about all those things. And yeah, man, and it's just something that keeps lingering in my mind, but I'm just gonna say it out here. Once I say it, everything will be just super shush. So yeah, man, animation, my first days of animation, what I was watching, because I remember first time I watched animation, I used to watch on SBC, ETV, yeah, you know those channels, because I didn't have DSTV. Yeah. Anyway, those are South African broadcasting channels, production media companies. Yeah, SBC, ETV. Yeah, I don't know a lot about DSTV, but it's just a big broadcast here, bringing us shows and all that. But then, at first, I didn't have that. So, a lot of films, animation films I watched, it was from ETV. And then I also watched a few from SBC. From SBC, it was not just a lot, because, okay, there was a lot, but Me, I didn't really watch a lot, so a lot of my animation films I catch them on ETV. Maybe that's the reason, because my favorite, the one that inspired me the most, used to be Super Strikers. Why Super Strikers? I think it's because of those days when I fell in love with soccer, football. Yeah, of course, it's because of my environment. During those years, like soccer was so popular in my hood. So just like before, I wanted to be a soccer player. Like whatever, man. I've been. Besides that, like I've been someone who's always drawing. Just like I said on the previous podcast, I started drawing at the age of 5. So yeah. Like, how can you talk about drawing without talking about cartoons? Cartoons is part of animation, right? So yeah, especially like this part I'm gonna be covering today. So yeah, cartoons. Damn. What do I wanted to say? Okay, about cartoons now. You know that moment when you're learning to draw. Start by drawing cartoons, because when you draw cartoons, it's like there's no rules. A cartoon is a cartoon. Hey, there's a big leg, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, whatever. It's a cartoon. But if you wanna learn to draw and you trying to draw realistic things, damn, it's going to drain you. You're gonna be drained, because that thing is already there and it's just realistic, and you're trying to peep it out exactly the way it is. No way. So that's my advice. Like, if you're still learning to draw, just like myself, my first days of drawing, I remember I used to draw cartoons a lot. The likes of Avatar, Dragon Ball Z, even Super Strikers I did. Because like Super Strikers, like I got a lot of inspiration from Super Strikers, because if there's one animation series that I had a chance to watch episode from episode, it's probably Super Strikers. Even comics, I used to get exposed to a lot of comic books, which is Super Strikers. Is it because I'm South African? Whatever, man. But Super Strikers, that's like the show is based on like South African style shakes, right? Whoever we call it. But then I'm not really sure about the creators, but how it looks like, the style of animation. I mean, all the comics looks like American comics. Like when I'm trying to compare it to Japanese manga. Oh, we're still gonna talk about Japanese manga. Since right now we're getting to start, I'm just randomly mentioning all those things. So yeah, man. Yeah. So I mentioned Dragon Ball Z, Super Strikers. How can I talk about comics, especially comics? When it comes to comics, how can I talk about comics without mentioning Marvel Comics? Because that's one of the biggest comic strips we got introduced to. My generation before me, even a generation after me, right? So yeah, Justice League, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was one of my favorite, but I just didn't get that chance to watch it, So most of the animation films, like I got a chance to watch them from episode after episode lately. Yeah, lately when I got to varsity, when I got my space, let me just put it in that way, because you know what, back then, like, hey, my parents didn't allow me to watch anime, and that's who I've always been. I just wanna be indoors, watch TV a lot, but my parents didn't like that, so they would prefer me to go join other kids and play. So that's what happened. But I never gave up. I knew I would get a chance where I would just lock myself in my room and watch those cartoons. And I did that the first days when like I have access to laptop. And those were the days when I stopped watching TV. So yeah, I'm like, okay, I stopped watching TV, but I didn't stop watching anime. So I watched anime on my computer. So yeah, I can say the first anime that at least I watched from season 1, episode to episode, it'd be Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty. So that's today, right? Because Rick and Morty is not that much old. Yep. Compared to other animation films and the comic strips. Wait, do we have comic strips for Rick and Morty? No, I don't think so. But if there is, I've never got exposed to, because there's also the likes of, when I think of Rick and Morty, I also think of the likes of what is it? Family Guy, the Simpsons, we've always struggled to pronounce this name, the Simpsons, whatever, man. So yep, right before we chop, there's something I want to tell you. Growing up as a kid, we've always compared ourselves to that one character from animation, whether it could be from comics or the motion film itself, but it's always been like that, man. It's always been like that. So as I'm trying to think, like, most of the time, who I used to compare myself to. Okay, since I just mentioned that era whereby I used to be inspired by soccer a lot, I would draw soccer players and have just like a document where I just keep all my drawings. So it wasn't just Super Strikers, but we also had the football GGO. Who remember that one? The football GGOs. Those ones were cool, right? Those ones were cool too, because when I looked at them, like the characters, they were kind of inspired by. It was a mixture, or well, how I looked at it, it was more like Avatar, The Last Airbender. Yep, that's one of my favorites. So yeah, the football GGO for me was more like Avatar, The Last Airbender, because that one, it's a combination of American comics and the Japanese manga. Yeah, the style is just, yo, man. That's what I'm looking towards to, because I got both, like I got inspiration from both sides, from American comics and the Japanese manga. And when you combine that style, you get the likes of Avatar, The Last Airbender, the football GGOs. For me, that's what it looked like. And also the Pokemons. Damn, I used to watch the Pokemons as well. Pikachu thing, but I didn't really watch it like episode from episode, just like other animation films. And well, yeah, before we chop other things, I just want to get to the formal education, studying animation. Well, because the first time I went to varsity college, because the goal was to be an animator, just make film animations. But of course, I knew that the course I chose, I was going to learn a lot of stuff. It was not just animation, but cinematography itself. It was just everything, multimedia. But then, of course, there's a year where you will specialize. Okay, you will study all these things throughout the years. But when you get to that's where you specialize. I guess I wanted to specialize with animation, because that's one of the classes that I took serious. Yeah, that's where I felt pressure on some, like, yeah, I'm really going to learn here. I'm really going to learn. And I got this thing that we call it light foot. That's what we're using. So like how we started learning animation, we used the old school way of making anime, and they gave us this tool. They call it light foot, and I haven't used it in a while. I was using it like as a rule sometime when I just don't find my rule, but I'm still gonna use it because I'm currently working on a project. And yeah, man. Otherwise, formal education. To go on that, what else did I then? It's just a lot. But then, just how you know me, whenever I go through something I'm learning, I always need more space in order for me to learn effectively. So I only use that 1 year as an opportunity to learn a few things. And those few things that I grasped, I went home to apply those methods, and then I produced a few, just a few animations. Some of them I didn't share. The only one that I did share, like the final product, it was the visualizer, the one I did for Hood Looking Good project. So yeah, at the moment, that's one of the projects that I'm proud of, that I animated, because that's like I was more passionate on that one. But the rest, I was just, that's why I didn't even bother to share. But yeah, I have a lot of works that I haven't shared yet. But I'm still gonna share. Yo, just stay with me. Keep up, you stay tuned. There's just a lot coming. So today I didn't introduce myself, right? You already know me, man. I'm just not gonna do the things all the time, but of course I have to. I know I have to, but not just today, man. The thing is, why I'm in here. I just want to wrap this one like this because I kept you waiting. For so long. There was an episode that was supposed to come out, but it didn't. So while we're waiting, just because it didn't come out as a 4th episode, it doesn't mean it's no longer gonna come. Still gonna shoot. I guess as time goes, that allows me to improve my equipment, to improve my space, understanding the studio working process, so that we don't make the same mistakes. So yeah, I guess when we bring in you our first guest, it's gonna be Pashash. So yeah, getting back to the business, formal education. Well, I didn't really get a lot of formal education when it comes to animation, because I think that's how I want things to be. When it comes to formal education, I just want that little piece of idea, and then going all throughout, like diving deep into project. I just want to be free because I like breaking rules. I know breaking rules, it really works for me. It just gives me freedom. I get to discover things that I was not going to be able to discover while I was in class. So yeah, that's why I'll just initiate my own projects. I'm not just trying to wait for anyone to tell me when to work on something and all that, because I've realized when I'm told to do something, I'm not productive. But when I get that within myself, I really get the goal. So I'm more self-driven. I don't like to do things to prove other people that I can do this, but I like to do things to prove myself that I can do it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I am my biggest enemy. The only one person that I'm more in competition with is myself. So in whatever I do, I'm just trying to prove myself wrong. Yo, nigga, we can do this. So yeah, I guess that allows me to produce a lot of work. So yeah, otherwise I'm not gonna dive so much deeper into formal education. So now we're just gonna jump into informal education. The informal education. Now that one is started back then. When was that? Back in primary. In primary we did animation, but we're not aware of it. We use a book, a paper, alright, on the first page. So we would tear okay, like an A4 page, you will tear it into 3 equal pieces. Meaning if you turn it into 3 equal pieces, you're gonna have 3 different animation in that page. Okay. And then on the second page, same thing. But the second page we don't really tear it. We don't tear it. Since yeah, this process, like a lot of us already know it, but I just didn't know like what we used to call it, because I think it didn't have a name. You just call it in earlier. You just do this, you take a pencil and you roll the paper. Once you've already done your designs, and there's a first frame and a second frame. So those 2 frames are slightly the same. So they are slightly different. I mean, they are the same, but they are slightly different so that there can be an action movement. That a movement that you can do repeatedly. It could be walking. We also like to do like using an axe for snatching on wood, and the other one I used to do a lot, of course, is the naughty one. You would just go like this. So I would it's more like a GIF. That's the word I'm looking for, a GIF. It looks more like a GIF because there's not a lot of movement. It's just one movement repeatedly mostly. So yeah, I would just call it a GIF. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna say it's a physical GIF. So we got introduced to GIFs before we even had smartphones. So I guess we were smart as kids, yeah. That's what I like being a kid. It's like our focus, things that we give attention to, things that makes us happy. But the more you grow up, it's like you give attention to things that makes you sad. It's like you keep thinking about something that you don't have, and it really drains you. It drains your energy. But when you're a kid, you just focus on what you have. Maybe the only time you think of things that you don't have is when you see other kids having something that you don't have, of which there's something that I experienced. I went through a lot. It's like I would envy other kids, like, oh, you have that toy and I don't have it. It's like, hey, I want to have it too. But I guess we grew up now and I overcome that. Well, whatever it is, man. Otherwise, with this episode, I just didn't wanna stretch it too far. It's just a young recap about my animation experience, because I would really like to spend a lot of time, a lot of my time diving deep into the animation industry. Yes, I spent a lot of time in music now, like 10 years. That's just like what happened on episode 3. I did a music anniversary, giving you a recap throughout the years, throughout 10 years me making music. So now, why not just focus on something else? That's how I feel like. It's not like I want to stop doing music. Hey, no, I want, because the interesting part is that what I'm talking about today, it's actually a combination of all those things. I'm going to need music, vocals. I guess now my voice is well trained to do all those different, flows, how to put this, affected voices and all that. I guess all those skills that I acquired, all those skills that I grasped from making music, producing sounds, producing voices, it's really going to be helpful in terms of producing animation. Because in animation film, like motion film, the sounds, not just anime but also movies, the sounds, man, the sounds are just so interesting. Because some of my songs, I would also apply that, you would hear like guns, smoke, just sounds of movements. You'd hear that in some of my songs, especially when I'm producing a music film. You know, when there's a music film, I try to make sure that okay, those sounds in the background are being heard, so that the audio of an MP4 doesn't sound exactly like the one you get from an MP3. So there should be a difference when you're just listening to an MP3, and there also should be a difference when you just like when you're watching something. You must get the full effect. You know what I'm talking about? The full experience. Because what did I want to say? The full experience. I guess this idea came in once I thought about the first time I watched the 3D movie in cinema. Like, it's like, you know, those sounds, how they are manipulated. They are like so real. If something is traveling, that's how it is. Yeah, man. There's just a lot to talk about. But for today, I think we did wrap it. So yeah, I was just putting you through on where did I got inspiration when it comes to animation. So I gave you a lot, man. I gave you a lot. Even if I did forget some, but I did mention the essential ones. What is that? Avatar, Super Strikers, Rick and Morty, and who else? Well, Justice League as well. Yes, Justice League did had an impact on my art as well. Did it had an impact because there's this project whereby I'm inspired by Batman branding. Like, yep. We're still gonna talk about that. And also, I'm looking at a poster. It's a game poster. The Punisher. Is it a? Oh yeah, it's a video game poster. I thought it was like a comic because, you know, with the Punisher they would also produce films. So that is a game poster. Why? I want to tell you about the game poster. Well, the Punisher. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the Punisher, right? Since the Punisher is one of the first games that I ever mastered. And for me, I guess those were the days where I got introduced to, like, exposed to animation a lot, because video games it's animation. Hey, those movements, animation takes place in the right before you transition into animations. There's always a comic strip. It makes you understand that this is not just a game, but this is a story. There's a storyline behind the game. So yeah, I would enjoy those comic strips, you know, make me understand the game better, inspiring me and making me want to watch the actual movies, you know, and not just trying to get the whole storyline from the comic strips while playing the game, because you're not really gonna understand everything, right? But once you get to watch the film and complete the game, that's the only time you get to understand it. So yeah, a lot of games they have that. Almost a lot of games I played, they were really inspired to, like, driven to have comic strips. So yeah, animation is just a dope industry to be in, because the moment you enter that industry, you're not just gonna meet animators, but you're also gonna meet game developers, because those people, like, together they can just do amazing work, you know, collaborative project. Yeah. And when it comes to animation, where the comics animation, like my favorite part of it. If ever I was to work specialized in a certain field strictly, that would be character development. That's my favorite part. Well, I will write stories to plots. I can do that too, but if I were to choose just one, character development, man, it's just crazy. I like that. The thing is, me, I spend a lot of time thinking than doing. So when it comes to character development, I guess my thinking, that's where it will really help me, because once you have a character, you already know what they do, how they live, what is their transport, like how their environment looks like. Now it's easy for you to write the story, I mean, get it continuing. I guess that is just for me, but that's how I feel. Like, that's just my opinion anyway. But yeah, man, in the field of making an animation film, I'd really like to specialize in character development. Just developing characters, man. Developing characters. Because there's one thing that I've realized with me is that, okay, I can be this person. Maybe everybody else might see the same person, but there will be a time whereby I just see a different person in myself. It's not just me, but of course also other people see that. Maybe they will say they met me after some time and they say, you changed. Well, I changed. I'm still the same person, but I just got another inspiration. In terms of who to become, how to walk, how to speak, and how to do things. How to tell my story. Animation is just amazing, because when I talk about animation right now, I also think of the likes of the musician, the hip hop artists who are inspired by comics. It's like MF Doom. Like, when I dive into MF Doom, like how he shared his story with us. MF Doom, how he shared his story with us. It was more like, okay, like the MF Doom. Before I found out the very own Marvel. Is it Marvel? Yeah, before I found out about Dr. Doom, I first found out about MF Doom. So you see how's this thing? It is. So yeah, music, it has also helped me, break through the passages of animation as well. Because I might be into animation, but I get to discover something from animation, from comics, animation, through music. So yeah, while exploring MF Doom, I had to discover that MF Doom was inspired by Dr. Doom. So who's Dr. Doom? Now I discovered that all those things. So yeah, otherwise shout out to Marvel. And I can't leave DC behind. Man, I just like to appreciate everything. It's not just Marvel, DC. I got inspiration from like different levels. So yeah, I guess that will allow me, just the same how it happens with music. I'm just not one-sided, but I also, like, maybe for an example, I'm saying, no, I only fuck with the rappers from the West Coast, or I only fuck with the rappers from the East Coast. No, I have my favorite rappers in the East Coast, and I have my favorite rappers in the West Coast as well. And then I guess when I get to combine all those things, that's when we get an artist like me. Same with animation. I'm gonna go for American comics, whatever manga manga comics, Japanese manga, I guess there are people who are already got inspired by American comics and then manga, the Japanese manga, and they combined that. That's just what I mentioned in the beginning of this episode. And I guess I'm gonna be one of those, combining the Japanese manga and the American comics. And I also learned that we also have like animators in Africa, but I don't know a lot about the animators in Africa, but I'm still gonna make my research about them, because I've realized that like how in Africa we are so like how unique we are. Like we must have those. We must reach that level whereby we have our own style. Well, we may be having our own style, but of course we are inspired. We are inspired by Americans and the Japanese as well. I guess for you to discover yourself, you have to go through those phases, getting to understand other people's work. It also inspires you to be innovative. Just, but otherwise, yeah, man, I'm just not gonna take so much time with this episode. I already mentioned a lot. We're still gonna talk about animation in the next episode with my guests and all that. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's enough for today. Yeah. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I'm just gonna see you on the next episode.